currently 6 o'clock at night, the night before my tune, which is booked first car on the dyno tomorrow morning. So I'm doing my last oil and filter change, putting some good stuff in. I have been running this car at the moment on some just shitty mineral oil, which is what is recommended when running in a brand new engine. As you can see, nice and gold still. Now if you're into cars, there is nothing more nerve-wracking than getting your car tuned, especially a car that you've built yourself. So I am absolutely shitting myself for tomorrow morning. So I'm gonna take it for a bit of a drive tonight, make sure everything's okay, new oil and filter is done, and I just pray that everything tomorrow morning goes to plan and there's no dramas. Wish me luck, guys. Now because I'm so worried about being late for anything in life, I've always been like that, I would much rather be 30 minutes early to something than 2 minutes late. So I left super early this morning when it was still dark. I left an hour before I was due to be at Allsparks, when it only takes half an hour to get there. But lucky I did, because traffic was off its head. I've just got here, or into the industrial area where Allsparks is, and it is 5 to 8. So lucky I left early. And surprisingly, this is actually the longest drive I've done in this car since putting it together. So it was fine on the drive here. I did a drive in it last night out to dinner and stuff to my parents, and everything was good, so she should be ready for tune. Didn't get warm or anything in traffic, so all is good so far. And we have made it. We are here at Allsparks. Ooh, it's freezing. They're not open yet. I'm a couple of minutes early. I'm definitely waiting in the car. But I've always wanted to get this car tuned here. This has been where I decided to get it done, straight from when we pulled this car apart again. If you're into LSs and stuff, there's pretty much 3 main LS workshops in Victoria, and they're all in the western suburbs. Allsparks, SAS Automotive, and the guys at Garage Works. So it was always going to be one of those 3. The main thing with coming here was Daniel, that built my motor, actually used to work here doing engines and stuff like that, so it was a perfect fit. Everyone knows each other, we're all on the same page, so let's see how this thing goes on the dyno. I'm so nervous. So straight away had a bit of a drama. Plugged Frank's laptop in, and previously the ECU has been locked, so had to pull the ECU out, wipe it clean with whatever trickery Frank does, and so it's a full fresh tune, not a touch up. This is starting from scratch, and for the first time this is actually what this cam sounds like without the ghost cam bullshit that was put on it before. So yeah, no runs on the dyno yet, just figuring out his stuff, and then Frank's gonna get into it. I'm pretty pumped. Goddamn crank seal. And while I'm here, how nice is this? I actually really like this color combo. The gold with the tan trim. Wow. So Frank's just taking it for a drive to make sure everything's all good. And we're out of here. And this is the ultimate. Bellina with the grey hubcaps and bars. Oh, perfection. So Frank's VL up there. Charged VZ. Harrop. This thing's charged. 32 GDR. This wagon. Pretty serious cars here at the moment. Holy moly, what a difference this car is now. Jesus Christ. A massive, massive thanks to Frank for this morning. This car is night and day from what it was. I'm just on my way back, so I will explain everything that happened, what problems we got, etc, etc, when I get home. Now it is the next day, back home, car is back safe and sound. I'm super happy. Can go through exactly what happened. So first off, straight away as soon as the car went on the dyno, ECU was locked. So I had to pull the ECU out. Frank did some wizardry with some wires and plugged into his laptop and managed to wipe the computer clean. Therefore I had to start again with a fresh tune, which was fine. That's what he wanted to do anyway. I've always known the crank seal was a bit iffy in this car. It had a couple of drips over the times that I've driven it, but once it was on the dyno, loaded up and on a slope with getting the shit absolutely thrashed out of it, it was leaking pretty bad, and the fan at the front was blowing it all under the car, which was heartbreaking for me because I'm so clean with this thing. But anyway, it is what it is. So I've already got another crank seal, got to do that at some point. The bad thing is you got to pull radiator out, all that shit. Ugh. Another thing Frank noticed was fuel pressure was super low. It was at 40 psi from before. I have never touched this fuel pressure reg apart from taking it on and off. It's been on this car since I bought it and no one has touched fuel pressure. So it's been at 40 psi the whole time. Frank cranked it up to 60 and then it started making power on the dyno. So I don't know what the go was there with the last two people that have looked at this car, hadn't had it on the dyno, but it's all good now. Holds steady at 60, which is perfect. So after about like 2.5 hours or so on the dyno, highest reading we saw was 264 point something, which is expected. That's exactly what I expected this car to make, between the 260 plus, sort of 250, 270 around there, which is exactly what this camshaft should make. It's up 45 kilowatts from before, or 40 kilowatts. It made 226 before with a bigger camshaft, the GM Motorsports Turbo Killer. So this is a VCM 710, it's a little bit smaller, but it made 40 kilowatt more, which is a big jump. Now the biggest difference with this car, I don't think was the power. You can definitely feel it makes more power, but the biggest thing is the box in this car now. With the Turbo 350, whew. Look, I took it for a drive last night. I'm obviously not gonna post any of this stuff, but this thing fries tires. Just pick a gear, rolling, plan it, and it loads up on the converter and off it goes in a stream of tire smoke. It's amazing. It's a bit of a boat of a car to handle, but anyway, the big steering wheel, soft suspension, and tiny tires on the front really don't help the cause, but it is what it is. It's not set up to be going sideways down the road. Now, another problem we had, which unfortunately halted it from possibly making a little bit more power, is it has valve float. Now, this car has always had GM Motorsports single valve springs in it, and they proved to be the problem on the dyno. Anything over 6500, it was getting valve float and sort of dying in the arse over that. So Frank set the limiter at, I think 6600 it is at the moment. Until I do some valve springs, I'm going to do some double valve springs, and then he's going to up it to 7 grand, and it was still climbing until it got valve float and then died in the arse, so it might make a little bit more power before it hits the rev limiter. So that's probably the biggest thing. So I need to do crank seal and valve springs, and then Frank said to bring it back and he'll do a quick touch up. Now Frank did mention this car would probably benefit from what he can see on the dyno. Like, I don't know what I'm looking at when he's on his computer, so this is all from Frank. He reckons this car would benefit massively from an intake manifold, so I might look into, I know you can get the standard ones ported and all that stuff, which is like half or a third of the price of like one of those LSX manifolds and stuff like that. So that's a route I really want to look down. And I also need to pull the throttle body off. I'll probably do that when I have the radiator out to do crank seal. And make sure that the little hole in the butterflies has been opened up a little bit, and if it hasn't, then to just file it out a little bit. It'll help with idling and stuff like that. Apart from that, everything went smoothly, nothing broke. The diff is still noisy, which I really need to attend to. It's got to the point where now it's good to drive, and I gotta go back and fix all the little things that are sort of pissing me off now. But it's tuned, that's the biggest thing I was waiting for. I can thrash it around, drive it fine. Just, it's got a few noisy bits and pieces. It did develop a knock in the front end when I got there, so I need to jack it up and go over everything. I've had the whole front end out of this car, so who knows, maybe something's come loose, something not in tight enough. And I think the column in this car is stuffed. When I mentioned a few videos ago that it wasn't cancelling the indicators and the horn wasn't working, a few people did mention it, but the sleeve had come out of the column where it's in the engine bay. And once I popped that all the way in and it pulled the steering wheel into the dash, it fixed everything, but now it's stopped again and it's got a bit of play in the steering wheel. So I'm thinking we've stuffed something in the column itself, because this is a collapsible column. When we're putting like the front end in, the K-frame and all the shaft, I think we might have stuffed something inside, so I got to look into that. That's a bit of a pain in the ass if I have to drop the column out of this thing, but again, it is what it is. You just gotta keep going and fix it all. So again, massive thanks to Frank, VCM, Daniel from PP, Horsepower Junkie for the bottom end, and any other people that I can't think of that helped with the engine in this car. Thank you very, very much. It's turned out perfect, way better than before. I think we're very, very close to being ready to racing Scotty at Street Machine. So hopefully I can get an 11-second pass out of this. I don't see why not. It ran a 12.3 or 12.4 before, with a tired engine and a shitty gearbox, so I don't see why I can't pick up a couple of tenths and end up with an 11-second car here. I think the thing, funnily enough, that I was most worried about when going for tune with this car, if you're from Melbourne, you know we've had very, very heavy rainfall for the last week or so, and that's pretty much was my biggest worry, was I was going to get caught in the rain driving there or driving home, and this thing was going to get filthy. But thank God, the morning I went was no rain, and then just as I pulled back here after lunchtime, it started raining on the way back. So that was my biggest thing, believe it or not. But anyway guys, that's it for this one. I will see you guys next week. Let me know in the comments down below what you think. Remember, this was just a intake, headers and camshaft engine, so it's made very decent power. It goes really, really good. Let me know in the comments down below what you think. See you guys.